Hello and welcome everybody to the Digital Classroom, the podcast where we dive into the integration of technology in basic schools. I'm Ellen, your navigator on this journey where we explore the digital innovations that are bringing education to life in ways we've never imagined. In this episode, we are diving into the digital toolkit available for educators teaching grades 1 through to 8. The aim is to spotlight a variety of IT tools that cater to the developmental and educational needs of younger learners, thereby enhancing their experiences across all subjects. Joining me are Obeng and Osei, experienced educators with a passion for technology in education. Welcome, guys.
Hello. Hi.
So, can you introduce yourselves to our audience?
Okay, my name is Edward Osei. I teach computing for primary school for the McCarthy Hill School, which offer Oxford curriculum, and I've been there for the past 3 years.
Hi, I'm Obeng, a math educator in the STEM department in Oxbridge High School. I've been teaching for the past 6 years, where I taught in Ghana for 4 years and currently teaching in the UK.
So, let's start by discussing educational apps. There is a vast array of apps designed for younger learners, covering subjects ranging from math to science, arts, and social studies. Let's begin with Osei. Could you share some apps you've found particularly effective in your teaching practice?
So in computing, we use a lot of applications which my students love most. One of their favorite app is called Scratch. Another one they also use is ABC Mouse. They also use Google Classroom, and they also use Class Dojo and a variety of other popular like Tinkercad. It's very effective in my class actually. So Tinkercad helps them to do their 3D modeling. Scratch help them to code, and ABC Mouse help them with their keyboard. Kids having fun whilst they learn. It's very effective. It's a kind of play learn.
Now to Obing.
Well, apps like Prodigy and Epic have been incredibly useful in engaging students and reinforcing concepts in math and language arts, respectively. They offer interactive experiences that cater to individual student needs. As a math instructor, I learn more towards Prodigy for most of my lesson delivery and assessments.
Great. Now moving on to one common tool that is interactive whiteboards. How do you utilize them in your classroom?
Okay, with interactive whiteboards, unlike using normal whiteboard where you have to rub the board to rewrite and do other work on the same, you can add more boards on the same application that you are using, which helps students when you want to go back to the previous or write notes or go back to previous examples. And you can save the particular slide or screen for future reference for the student to get back to.
All right. Jerome, do you have any experience with interactive whiteboard?
Absolutely. I would say interactive whiteboards are fantastic tools for bringing lessons to life. I use them to display visual aids, interactive games, and collaborative activities across various subjects. For example, in science, I might use simulations to explore concepts like the water cycle or cell structure.
Okay, good. Because personally, I like how these whiteboards can display multimedia content as well, support touch-based interactions, and even allow the learners to draw or write directly on them, which makes lessons more engaging and versatile as well.
Mostly it helps the math class, especially when they are dealing with their polygons and shapes, because you have a perfect draw on the board for students to, unlike regular, you have to draw with your hand and your shape is kind of squiggly or something.
That's a great example of leveraging technology to enhance student understanding. And how do your students respond to these interactive activities?
Well, students love interaction. And when it comes to technology, which helps boost their education, they are so much enticed and want to use the application so much that if it's an interactive board, everybody wants to be on it. Everybody wants to take part in what they are doing. They want to also use the board, help in the game that they are doing. If it's mine, for example, like we using Scratch, everybody want to drag a kind of block on it. It's easy to go back. They can see what they are doing. They can remove a block. They can put it back. And it is self-explanatory sometimes, rather than you standing for like an hour to explain something to them.
Okay, that's good. Jerome, do you have anything to add?
Yes, just a little something to add to what Osei just said. I think students love interactive activities. They enjoy the hands-on nature of the activities and their ability to actively participate in their learning.
Okay. It's quite incredible how technology can extend learning beyond the confines of the classroom. Now, moving on to online resources, which offer a wealth of opportunities for supplementary learning. Can you share some examples of how you incorporate them in your lessons?
Okay, online resources. Well, a simple example would be gamification apps, which helps them kind of they are back playing the game, but at the same time learning at their own pace.
Yeah.
Also, for example, we have resources that are like puzzles that they have to fix and do all those things. And they really love, and their creativity comes up when you see them trying to figure all these things out in their own way, understand them in their own way. And when you try to, ask them for feedback, the answers you get is amazing from all those sites that they go, you give to them and they use.
Great. Jerome, do you have something else to say? Yeah.
Yes, certainly. Website like Khan Academy and virtual field trips allow students to explore topics in depth and make connections beyond the classroom. I often use them for homework assignments or as a springboard for class discussions.
Okay, that's great. Now, moving on to learning management systems, we know they play a vital role in organizing and delivering instructional materials. Because platforms like Google Classroom, Seesaw help the educational process by allowing teachers to distribute assignments, give feedback, and communicate with students and parents in a centralized location. How do you utilize these learning management systems in your teaching practice?
Apps like iXL, Splash Learn helps with progress tracking and reporting. Features that will allow both teachers and parents to track the awards progress and then also identify areas where they fall short and they also find great strength. You can monitor their journey throughout those apps. On Google Classroom too, you can also monitor whether they did the homework or they did not. And also teach them about time management too, because they have to do it by a particular deadline.
Learning management systems like Google Classroom streamline communication, making it easier for both me and my students to stay organized. I use them to distribute assignments, provide feedback, and track student progress. As we all know, most of these apps are linked to Google Classroom.
Yeah, exactly. Now, one major concern is how we track students' privacy or data privacy when using this platform. Because most of the time, they are in the house and they have to submit these works or log onto a website and finish an assignment. But you are not there, there are no parents sometimes. How do you address concerns about student privacy and data security when using these platforms?
Well, the first thing you have to teach your children and the words that you are managing is how passwords and usernames are personal to them and how they are supposed to keep it safe
Okay.
and how they are supposed to also prevent themselves from easily getting hacked or shoulder surfed or their password getting stolen. That being said, as a facilitator, you introduce an app to the children or the students. You
Yeah.
have to be able to understand the privacy law that governs the students on that app to be sure that it has an age limit where content on that particular app is not above the kids. So
Okay.
to say, it is best for you to introduce children below the ages of 6 to 9 to Kiddle
Okay.
or safe search engines. Okay, kid safe search engines, so that the kids will understand that content, unlike being on Google, searching for content that will be above their ages is inappropriate for them. Mostly, I believe the facilitators should look at the privacy and the age appropriate for the users using the app to use those apps and how it will affect the students too as well.
That sounds great. Jerome, how do you address concerns about student privacy?
Well, to me, I feel it's essential to familiarize myself with the platform's privacy policies and ensure that students' personal information is protected. I also educate students about online safety
Yeah.
and responsible digital citizenship to empower them to navigate these platforms safely.
Finally, let's address some misconceptions and concerns about integrating IT tools into the classroom. A very common one is that it might lead to excessive screen time, distracting from traditional learning methods or physical activity, which is the major, I would say, issue for parents. Because they feel like when we introduce the kids to these tools in the schools, when they come back home, you see them fixed behind the devices and they wouldn't want to do any other thing. Jerome, what are some misconceptions you've encountered and how do you address them?
One common misconception I would say is that technology will replace traditional teaching methods. In reality, technology should enhance, not replace, effective teaching practices. I emphasize the importance of using IT tools as supplements to support learning rather than as substitutes for teacher led instructions.
Absolutely. Technology should complement pedagogy rather than overshadow it. And I feel most people don't get that. Now, to the very last part of our conversation, how do you envision the future of IT tool integration in education, particularly for grades 1 to 8?
I believe in the near future, the physical classroom will be a space for education to go on. I believe the tools, educational apps, will help to facilitate and enhance education to be better and improved. Saying that too, we should also be mindful of other effects that will come with
Yeah.
moving on from there. Yes.
And how can educators or schools stay updated with this latest IT schools and trends to continually enhance their learning experiences of these younger students that we are talking about?
Facilitators in that institution, workshops and courses for them to take to understand the benefits of IT tools and educational apps. From there, the facilitators will also learn more and use those apps to help them. Else, they would be apart from others, as we can see here from where I come from in Ghana, that in some part of Ghana, somebody has never even seen a computer before. And as such, the person will not even understand what Google Classroom is.
So if these teachers don't come on board, it's going to affect the kids in the long run because we have to be well vexed with these tools in order for the kids to also roll on and then get it. Thank you, Jerome and Osei, for sharing your insights and experiences with us today. It's clear that integrating IT tools into elementary and middle school classrooms have a profound impact on students' engagement and learning outcomes. Any last words for our audience?
All I'll say is educational apps have come to stay, and everybody should appreciate those applications and use them to supplement their education.
Thank you. Jerome, do you have any last words for us?
Well, I hope our discussion has inspired educators to explore new ways of incorporating technology into their teaching practice.
Thank you, guys. Before we wrap up today's episode, I want to introduce the segment called the Classroom Connections. And this is your chance to be part of the digital classroom community in a more interactive way. Based on today's discussion on exploring common IT tools for grades 1 through to 8, can you recommend any other IT tools or resources that have been effective in your teaching practice? Come on board and let's create a resource pool right here. In our next episode, we'll highlight some of your responses, sharing your insights and experiences with the entire digital classroom community. This is a fantastic way to learn from each other, discover new tools, and maybe even solve a common challenge together. So don't be shy. Your contribution could be the inspiration or solution another educator is seeking. Until then, I'm Ellen, and this has been the Digital Classroom. Thanks for tuning in. Be the change.